So the task is to find out and get the details of the restaurant whenever the latitude and longitude were given. The other task is to get the details of the restaurant whenever an image of the dish is uploaded. So I run my backend first and it got connected, and in another terminal I'll run my front end, that is point npm space start. So whenever my front end work is run, I get my website open and it is an interface of my website. Whenever I give this latitude, and then I give this longitude, and whenever I hit this event of a button, I get the details of the restaurants within the 3 kilometers of this latitude and longitude. And the second task is to get the details of the restaurant whenever an image is uploaded. So these are the details of the restaurants with the dish pizza available in them. So I given a pizza file here, and the corresponding restaurants where the dish pizza is available has been fetched out from the database. So for this I used MERN STACK to develop it. I created two folders, backend and client front end. In backend I basically used two subfolders, that is routes and models, and another file in a backend folder is server.js in order to get in connection with the backend MongoDB. This is the code written in order to get connected with the backend MongoDB database. Instead of getting the connection string, directly pasting out the connection string here, I used a separate file name .env where I could paste in all the connection strings or links needed. I basically used MongoDB Atlas in order to store my data, because in order to get it accessed globally, I can also use MongoDB Compass, but it would be better to use MongoDB Atlas in order to get it accessed globally. I loaded my data into the MongoDB Atlas, and then I copied that connection string here in MongoDB Compass, so that I could load my data here also. But actually my data would be available in both Compass and MongoDB with that corresponding MongoDB Compass and MongoDB Atlas with the corresponding connection string. Now this server.js code is generally written for that purpose, and then in routes I have a file named restaurant.js. This is the schema for the backend collection, which is nothing but a table in MongoDB. The data is in the form of JSON, which is no SQL form of data. The structure of the JSON will be like this, that is the name of the attributes, and the related corresponding data related to that attribute will be embedded in an curly braces. The type is nothing but the domain or the data type of the corresponding string, and this is the requirement of that corresponding field, that is important or not important. We can include and exclude the necessary fields which we need, and exclude which we do not need. And then I used this restaurant.js in roads function in order to create and generate APIs as per the task provided. So I got all of these. In order to proper working, I loaded all my libraries, and then this nearby API was written in order to get the details of the restaurant whenever the correct latitude longitude provided within the range of 3 kilometers. I written this API call, and the other for the other API in order to get the details of the restaurant. Whenever an image is uploaded, I written this API in order to fetch that data. I basically converted that image into a corresponding base 64 string in order to get understood by the Gemini API. I used here the Gemini API in order to process the data with the string. The Gemini API could able to process that image and identify a specific string to be generated. So with that specific string, it would check for the backend data if the corresponding string that it generated and that keyword matches with the backend data, and that here the this will be useful in fetching out the restaurants with that corresponding string. So I used here Vision API URL. I used my Gemini API key, and is all in order to match the process the data and get some details about that image, and split the data into each individual keyword and checks for the keyword that matches within the database or not. And then it is the app.js, which is a React.js code for the proper UI for our front end. This use state is used we call it as hook in order to fetch the data accordingly. For proper updations, we use this use state hook. That is, whenever the latitude and longitude were given, the corresponding nearby 3 kilometers restaurant will be fetched out for whenever we give first latitude and longitude. When we change it, the new restaurants need to come. For that, we use this use state. We call it as hook and async functions for proper asynchronous callback functions for the backend API without need of refreshing or reloading. Here is the link to fetch out the restaurants nearby. That is useful in order to make a call to the backend API, and it also checks for the proper data has been entered or not, that is latitude and longitude, and corresponding whether the image has been uploaded or not. It checks for this for the second task, and this is for proper UI as per our need. So whenever our data has been properly given from the user, it would try to fetch out the data. See, whenever the latitude and longitude were given, it would fetch the name of the restaurant and its corresponding address, and also the cuisines available in that restaurant. For this, we written this. We can also include some other domain names as per our need, and get them. So this is the workage, and this is the final output. Whenever we change the file name to some other kind, when we upload an image of other kind and fetch that, now we get the details of the restaurants wherever the ice creams were present. I included an ice cream image, and the restaurants where ice cream cuisine were present were all rendered. And this is